somebody to take you in under their wing and guide you. That's what I think. I think that too many people raise their children with television, tablets, cell phones, and gaming systems. Lord knows I've had a lot of therapy in my life. I had this counselor say, hey, as long as, we're all going to mess up. We're all going to mess up. But as long as you're doing things out of love, you're going to be all right. That child is going to be all right. And I got to agree with that. I think it needs a lot of love. I think it needs guidance. I think it needs things like that. I can't imagine the life that this brilliant child would have had if someone would have just taken them under their wing. I just wanted to share that. Now, I show you these pictures for two reasons. The first is that no one who is ever involved in cybercrime ever, and I mean ever, comes to a good end. It always goes south. If you're lucky, you get 7.5. If you're not, you get 2 20s. You get a bullet in the head, or you get like the owner of Evolution Marketplace. He owned this dark web market. He decides he's going to steal everyone's money, steals $24 million. No one knew who did it. But they find him 18 months later on a beach in Cyprus. He didn't have his head and hands, but they found him. Turned out some of the money he stole was from the Ukrainian mob, and they took exception to that. Everything goes south. And I'm not talking about, it doesn't have to be consequences like that. You lead a life of just fear. You lead a life where you lie to everyone, where you victimize everyone, where you steal from friends, family members, associates, where you lie to yourself and you justify your crime. And I was absolutely no different than that. It always goes south. It is a horrible, horrible existence. The other reason I show you these pictures, no one up there is wearing a hoodie. No one's 400 pounds in their mom's basement screaming, "Mom, bring me a sandwich and cut the crusts off," with the Matrix background flowing in the back. That is not what a cyber criminal looks like. We have this perception that cyber criminals are these upper-tier computer hackers able to break into any computer system they want to. No. No. Make no mistake, those types of attackers are there, but their numbers are extremely small. The 98, 99% of cyber criminals, unsophisticated. They're just very good social engineers. It takes to manipulate you into giving up information, access, data, cash. Why do they do it? Well, it's not rocket science, of course, as Jackie pointed out. But they do it for 3 reasons. There's only 3 reasons that cybercrime happens. Ideology, status, cash. That's it. Ideology, what do I mean by that? Do you have a different political opinion? Have you angered someone? Might you attack someone because of that? Maybe. I mean, I wake up every single morning. I tune into Fox News. I tune into CNN so I can be pissed off at everybody. Every morning. And it works like a charm. If you don't believe that, then I don't know what. You've obviously not been paying attention the past 4 or 5 years. Yes, ideology matters. You can be attacked by it. Absolutely. Status. Can you do something that none of your other criminal peers can do? Can you build and deploy ransomware? Can you build and deploy bots? Can you use stolen credit card details and defraud Amazon when no one on the planet can do that? If you can, then you gain the respect of every single person in your criminal community. And some of these communities are millions of members large, and that respect equates to profit. Cash, though, cash is king. Oh, you damn right it is. Most attackers want cash, and that is actually more beneficial to us because most of these attacks, the criminal is looking for the easiest access that gives the largest return on his criminal investment. So it's lowest hanging fruit is what that is. And we'll talk about how to protect yourself in just a few minutes. What do the attackers want? It's 4 things, or a combination of 4 things. It's information, access, data, or cash. That's what they want. Information. What can I find out about you? Access. Can I get you to give me remote access to your computer or download malware, click on a link that deploys something? Can I get you to do that? Data. PII. That's your social. That's your logins, your passwords. It's your cryptocurrency addresses or your keys. It's all these things. That's the data. And then cash. Can I get you? Can I make money from you? That's what criminals want. Jackie was talking about these phishing links, all right? The way I say it, I talked about how a more experienced criminal, you cannot tell the difference between the real page and a phishing link, all right? You can't. What I would say is don't respond to any unsolicited requests. That's a knock at the door. That's a piece of mail in your mailbox. That's an email. That's a text message. That's a phone call. That's a carrier pigeon flying up and pecking on your window. Whatever that is, whatever that unsolicited request is, don't respond to that. So you get a text message, okay? And it says, hey, we're with Chase. We've approved the wire transfer for $2,000. And you're like, wire transfer? I didn't do that. And it says, if you didn't approve this, press N. It's trying to get you to act upon that message. That's what you don't need to act upon. So you don't press N. You know you didn't send it. You don't respond to that email. You don't respond to that whatever's in that piece of mail that you get in the box, that knock at the door. Instead, you disengage from that. If you get that text message, I'm going to talk about that in a second in relation to Zelle, but you get that text message, don't respond to that text message. Instead, you pull out your credit card. You pull out your debit card. You look on the back of it. What's that bank's phone number? You call that bank. Hey, what are you idiots doing? And they're going to tell you, we're not doing anything. What? There's no transfer. And then you're like, that's this idea of trust but verify. I get this, but guess what? I'm not going to act on that. I'm going to disengage from that, and then I'm going to call or contact the legitimate source, the verified source. Same thing with a phone call. You get that phone call, caller ID shows Social Security Administration. And you get somebody, and make no mistake, I used to do this, and this is one of the stories that I would tell people. I'd get them on the phone, I'd say, yeah, this is James Lasky down here at the Social Security Administration. Look, I know that you're in Hawaii, but we've got a chicken farm in Idaho, and it looks like your Social Security number has been used 18 different times for different employees at that chicken farm, and I'm calling you just to verify your Social Security number so we can get all this thing fixed. Can you give me the last 4? That's all I need. Are you going to do that? Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You may think you're not, but you are. And the only thing I need to get your complete social is the last 4. It's very easy for me to get the first 5. As long as I know the state you're born in and your date of birth, I've got the first 5. All right? That's the way that works. So understand what they want. Now, I usually go off into how, I turn my life around. I don't have time for that today because I want to talk about the different types of scams and fraud. Anybody wants to hear that? I'm glad to go through that with you, though, so let me know. Moving right along. For cybercrime to succeed, 3 things have to take place. You have to gather the data, you have to commit a crime, and then you have to cash out. Remember how I told you that every single online crime is organized? It's because of this. Those 3 necessities, a single criminal cannot do all 3. He can do 1, sometimes 2, but rarely all 3. And there's a reason for that. That criminal simply doesn't know how to do one of these things. He doesn't know how to launch a man-in-the-middle attack, how to launch a phishing campaign or anything else like that. So he relies on someone who does know how to do that better than he does. So it's a skill gap. Or he's in a geographic area where he can't do one of those things, typically putting money in pocket. And we see this. If you want an example of that, think about during the pandemic. The government instituted stimulus programs. The stimulus programs had absolutely, and I mean absolutely, no security in place for 6 months. In fact, the security that was in place, the CARES Act, took it away. So there was no security in place for 6 months. Fraudsters ate it alive. Specifically unemployment fraud, even in the state of Hawaii. Billions of dollars lost, and I mean billions. Whatever number they've told you, you can at least quadruple that. Billions of dollars, all right? Now the problem is that a lot of the criminals that were committing that fraud, they had all the data in the world because everyone's information is available. The crime was very easy to commit because there was absolutely no security in place. But If you've got a fraudster in the Ukraine, in Russia, in South America, or over in the EU that's doing unemployment fraud, he goes to cash out. He starts withdrawing those funds from an ATM in Europe. Well, the unemployment office in Hawaii, they're going to see, hey, this money's been taken out of an ATM in Europe. That don't make no sense. Let's freeze that. So because of his geographic location, he has to rely on money mules stateside to take that money out for him. So that's why it's always organized. Gathering the data, that is your personal information. It's your passwords. It's all of that, but it's also any tool that the criminal needs to use to victimize you. So think spoofed phone calls, SOX 5 proxies, whatever that may be, in order to go on, commit the crime, and then finally put cash in pocket. Think about the criminal themselves. What does it take for that criminal to commit crime? I would say it's willingness, it's ego, and then finally it's knowledge. All right? Willingness. Simply put, what is that crook willing to do? Maybe more than willing to, say, steal my identity, set up new accounts, HELOC fraud, student loan fraud, cash out my retirement, everything else. But that same identity thief may not be willing to take over someone's Social Security account and divert their Social Security payments from wherever that bank is that they're legitimately being deposited over to a prepaid debit card they've picked up at Walmart. And that's extremely easy to do, but it's not very common. It happens, but it's not as common as you would suspect given the criminal environment and the ease of that crime. The reason why, believe it or not, the reason why is that a lot of these criminals, they do have a moral compass. It's very situational, but they do have one, and at that point, it does tend to point north just enough that they realize, hey, if I take it, this is the only money that this person is likely getting. It's going to take them 3 months to fix it. How are they going to survive? So they tend to go toward other types of crimes. That doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean it's not going to become more popular, because it will. But that's the willingness that I'm talking about. Ego. Ego plays a huge part. That criminal has to be willing to believe that he can defeat a billion-dollar company or a billion-dollar security company. That it's basically David versus Goliath. Ego matters. But you can have the biggest ego in the world. You can be more than willing to victimize anyone and everyone. If you don't have the knowledge to do that specific crime, you are useless. And that, along with those three necessities, is exactly why you have the dark web, why you have the forums, why you have Telegram, why you have these subreddits, why you have the Facebook channels, why you have the YouTube videos that show people how to commit crime. They exist to train criminals and to allow criminals to network with others who are good in areas where they are not. That's exactly how that works. All right? A few stats for you. People wonder why cybercrime succeeds. You don't have to remember these stats. These are simply here to scare you to death. 90% of every single attack uses known exploits. It's not the stuff we don't know about. It's not unknown vulnerabilities. It's not zero-day attacks like a lot of the media would have you to believe. 90% of every attack uses a known exploit. Typically something we've been told about for years that we've not done anything about. That creates that problem. I'll give you an example. Credit freezes. A credit freeze is a powerful, amazing tool. It stops all new account fraud dead in its tracks. Matter of fact, it's free. It became free September 18th of 2018, largely in part to the efforts of AARP. It's an amazing tool, especially for children when you consider that 25% of all kids will be victims of identity theft. It solves that problem dead, all right? Now, since it's free, it's not hard to implement. AARP's got a walkthrough on how to do that as well. It's not hard to do. What's the percent of people in the United States that have a credit freeze in place? 12. 12%. It's free. Stops a massive load of crime. Yet only 12% of the population have the credit freeze in place. That's the problem. That's that statistic right there. 12%. It's not the stuff we don't know about. It's the stuff we've been told about, we've not done anything about, that causes the problem. 41% of every single router on the planet has the default password. That's your bank, that's your house, that's law enforcement. 41% of every router on the planet has the default password. Do you have any idea what you can do with a router with the default password? It's not good. It ain't good. Well, it's good for the criminal, but it ain't good. And that's just routers. We've got billions of IoT devices that have the default password or hard-coded passwords that you can't change. How do I get the password? A Google search. It's that easy. 92% of every single breach begins with a phishing attack. 92%. Why is that? Well, why would I potentially spend years trying to brute force my way past an industrial-proof firewall when the only thing I need to do is send an email to someone sitting behind that firewall? Get the exact same access, saves me time, effort, money. How successful is that? Well, if it's spear phishing, if I'm targeting you specifically, spear phishing is about 86% effective. 86. I don't care. I do not care how much cybersecurity awareness training you've got. It's still 86%. Don't care how educated, how uneducated, rich, poor, important, unimportant. It's still 86% effective. Now, why is that? Well, there's a statement that the reason that is like that is because there is no patch for human stupidity. Now, that's a very cute line. It always gets a chuckle. Lord knows I've chuckled at it myself. But it's not true. It's not true. It's absolutely not true. Ignorance has nothing to do with it. What it's got to do with is an attacker who understands the technology and the psychology enough to manipulate you into giving up what? Information, access, data, or cash. That's what it's all about. If you don't believe that, I'll show you something. Don't worry, I can't read it like that myself. I'm going to blow it up. Jackie showed this email earlier. This is 2 email addresses, Gollum@Anglerfish, 2 Gollum@Anglerfish. Now, I'm going to ask, no one's going to be able to see it right now, but does anyone see the difference between the 2 email addresses? No, so let's blow it up. There's the first, Gollum@Anglerfish. And I'll back it up here too. Here's the second, Gollum@Anglerfish.com. And it's not the brackets. Can anyone see the difference between the 2 emails? Gollum@Anglerfish, Gollum@Anglerfish. I heard it. The I. The I. It doesn't have a dot above it. Does anyone know what that is? That is not an English alphabet I. That's Cyrillic, Russian. Everything else is English there, just not that. Now, that's been known about for years. All right? That's called a Unicode domain. It mixes the different characters of different languages to register a domain and then anticipates you're not going to notice that. That's been known about for a decade. It's a known vulnerability. That goes into that 90% that I talked about. That's $7 million a day. That's a $12 billion criminal industry. That is the #1 way that business email compromise is committed today. It's been known about for a decade. For a decade. Now, why is that successful? It's successful because if you're using this to check your email, are you going to notice that one of those email addresses doesn't have a dot above an I? No, you're not. If you work in payroll and you go through 300 emails a day, are you going to notice that one of those email addresses doesn't have a dot above it? No, you're not. You're not. It's not the stuff we don't know about. It's the stuff we do know about that causes the threat landscape that criminals go in and victimize either you, your family, your loved ones, your organizations. That's how cybercrime succeeds. Boils down to trust. To trust. In order for me to victimize you or your company, I must establish a degree of trust with that potential victim. I must. Because if I don't, you're not going to give me information, access, data, or cash. So I have to get you to trust me. How do I do that? Online, I do it with a combination of technology, tools, social engineering. Technology. It's your cell phone. It's your laptop. It's your desktop computer. We inherently trust the technology which is given to us. We don't understand it a lot of the times, but we trust it. We trust the news that comes across the line without verifying it. That's the problem with fake news. We trust the phone numbers that show up on caller ID for it to be our financial institution or sheriff's office or what have you. We trust that technology. What we don't understand is that criminals use a variety of tools to manipulate that technology. They use spoofed phone calls. You don't see their number, you see the phone number of the sheriff's office, the Social Security Administration, something like that. They use SOX 5 proxies so that while they may be located in Ghana, Nigeria, Florida, they can make it appear that they're in Hawaii, California, Canada, South America, wherever they want to. So they use tools to manipulate the technology. That lays a base level of trust. And then what happens? Once the base level is established, then we see how good of a con man, a liar, a social engineer that criminal is in manipulating you into giving up information, access, data, cash. That's the way it works. Works no different with a company. Or if I'm trying to gain access to a website, I'll use a stolen identity. And that part, it's a tool. That stolen identity, that stolen credit card information, those are tools that I then use to go to a website, convince the website to trust me enough to send me product or let me register as a member, anything else like that. All right? Now, what we're going to do, we're going to open this up. I'm going to talk a little bit first about why you shouldn't use Zelle. Anybody in here use Zelle? Come on, nobody uses Zelle? If not, there's a hand right there. There's another one. It's okay. I'm going to scare you to death, hopefully get you not to use Zelle anymore. We'll talk about some healthcare stuff, maybe a couple other crimes, and I'm going to talk about everything that everyone here wants to talk about. All right? I'm a firm believer that you guys know more about what you want to talk about than I do. So we're going to go do that. Zelle. Zelle is a money transfer payment system. It's owned by the banks. It's actually owned by a company called EWS, Early Warning Services. The banks operate it, though. All right? What it does is it allows you to send money to someone else simply using an email address. And it's instant transfer, and it's an irreversible, supposedly irreversible transfer. All right? Now imagine this. You got your cell phone. What you don't know is that I have went on the dark web. I have bought your Social Security number, date of birth for $3.90. I've bought your complete background check. And here, let's segue for a second. There may be people out there that may ask the question, what can I do to make sure that my information is not compromised? The answer is nothing. Nothing. Your information has been available. Last year alone, we had 2,576 just reported breaches. Of those just reported breaches, over 57 billion records compromised. Just last year, your information is available. You need to accept that. If you accept that, then you can ask the logical question of, okay, then what can I do if a criminal gets my information that they can't use it? And I'll answer that, all right? But everyone's information is available. The only reason you may not have been compromised yet is think of it as the worst lottery on the planet. There's just so much information out there, there's just not enough criminals to get to it yet, but they're coming. Your number's going to be pulled. All right? So understand that. Now, going back to what I was saying, I go on the dark web. I buy your social, your date of birth for $3.90. I buy a background check. I can get it through Ben Verified if I want to. I can get unlimited ones for $27 a month. I get your background check, pull your credit report, I buy some financial information. All that's going to run me about maybe $30. Probably a heck of a lot less than that if I've got the correct connections, and I probably do. So I get all that information about you. Once I have that, I'm going to send you a text message that looks like it comes from your bank. It's going to say, hey, we've approved the wire transfer that you requested of $2,000. If you didn't request it, press N. Well, I didn't request that, so I press N. As soon as I press N, I get a phone call that looks like it's coming from my bank. Says it on the caller ID. I pick it up. When I pick it up and start talking, that person on the other end of the line that's pretending to be customer service of the bank, guess what? They're going to quote Social Security number. They're going to quote date of birth. They're going to talk about some of the background stuff, and they're going to talk about some of the financial transactions that are on that account. Why? Because the spoofed phone call and the text message, those are tools that are used to manipulate the technology, base level of trust. Once I get you on the phone, I'm using more tools, stolen identity, background check, everything else, financial information, to layer that trust, to convince you that I am that bank. So now that I've done that, what do I do? Yes, look here, look, what we're going to do, let me sign into your account, make sure everything's all right. I'm sure everything is. I go silent for a second. Look, it looks like you're not signed into your account right now. Well, someone is definitely signed into your account right now. We need to put a stop on everything. What we need to do to make sure you don't lose any money, we need to isolate the funds that you've got. I'm opening up just a temporary account right now. I need you to go over to Zelle, send the money over there right now to make sure you're protected. Everything's going to be just fine, but we just need to make sure everything's okay right now. Now, are you going to send that money? Yeah, you are. You are. You are. Okay? You are. I promise. Works like a charm. Happens every day. I've dealt with enough victims that exact thing happens to every day. Now, the problem with Zelle is that if I pay a scammer with a credit card, I don't lose any money. I'm protected. If I pay a scammer with my debit card, I'm still protected. It takes me longer to get the money back with a debit card than it does a credit card, but I'm still protected. If I pay that same scammer using Zelle, I am not protected. I am not protected. The bank will not cover that. The bank will tell me, hey, you chose to send that money out, you're done. And oftentimes, the bank will go the extra step of trying to blame you for the crime that's been perpetrated upon you. That's why you don't use Zelle. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau right now is looking at Zelle, looking at all the banks, and they're about to force the banks to have proper protection for the people who use that system. But right now, it's not happening, and right now, you don't need to be using it. Are there safer services? Well, there's Venmo, there's Cash App, there's these other money transfer systems too. They are certainly more secure, but that being said, can you still be defrauded using them? Absolutely you can. Absolutely. And here, if there's anyone in the audience that thinks they can't be scammed, let me dissuade you of that illusion. Everyone in here, self-included, can be scammed. Every single person. All right? If you think you can't, that is exactly, and I promise you, that's exactly the type of person that I used to want to talk to. Because that's a blinder you've got on right there. You are blind to an area, and I'm going to eat you alive at that point. Every person in here can be scammed. All right? So if you will be to use one of these services, make sure that you actually know the person, that you've broken bread with them, that they've been in your house and actually used your bathroom. Not that it's somebody that's online that you call friend. They need to have been in my bathroom. I need to go in with air freshener after. I know you my friend then. Other than that, don't do it. Don't do it. If you're buying something online, if you're sending money, use an instrument where you have some protection. Frank Abagnale, a few years ago, he worked with AARP. He was talking about how you should only use credit cards. I'm from Eastern Kentucky. Not all of us have credit cards. I will tell you this. Debit cards have the exact same protections as credit cards. It just takes you longer to get your money back. So if you don't have a credit card, use your debit card. Yeah, you shouldn't, but you're at least protected. You'll get that money back if you're scammed. If you're using Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, an instrument that offers you protection. All right? Now, I also said healthcare. Where I get that scam from. In cybercrime environments, Trickle down actually works. You start with a sophisticated tool or crime, and it trickles down to every single other type of crime that's on the planet. For example, SIM swaps. That's where I have the phone that's shut down in your pocket. That's the phone that's in your pocket shut down, and that number transferred to a prepaid phone that I have in my pocket, so that I can take over your accounts. Now that specific crime started out at cryptocurrency. I would find somebody that had a fat wallet, and I would change their phone number to where I own the phone number, and then I would take over their account and steal all their crypto. That has bled down over the years to where it really is down to credit card theft right now. All right? This idea that I talked about, Zelle, where I use your personal information to convince you that I am an organization, that started out in healthcare. Medical records are very valuable. So what I can do is I go on the dark web. I buy a set of medical records. I then sign up a call center, maybe in India, maybe in the United States, or someplace like that. Get a call center, get a doctor that's on board with it, and get a laboratory. And here's the deal. They buy your medical record. You get a phone call that looks like it comes from your doctor's office. They've got your medical records. As soon as you get on, yeah, this is Bob Roberts down at the medical office. Yeah, look, we're going through. It looks like you had this procedure back in 2018. Now, everything's fine with the procedure, but the doctor was going through all the records, and it looks like he would like you to come in and just have a test, a genetic test, to make sure that everything's all right on the cancer side of things. Now, look, it's not going to cost you anything, nothing at all. I need you to go down to this lab. Everything's going to be just fine. It's going to take 5 minutes. All right? And they're telling you the truth. Not going to cost you a thing. Not going to cost you a thing. And it's an actual lab that you're going to. And a doctor has signed off on the order. So where's the scam? The scam is that genetic cancer test cost $25,000 to $40,000. Medicare pays for it. You don't need it. The lab makes money, the doctor makes money, the call center makes money, and the scammer who organized it makes the most money. Where's the loss? At Medicare. How does that affect people in this audience? Well, when you lose enough money on Medicare, they start cutting services after a while. And that's just the beginning of identity theft. Your identity is compromised for sure at that point. Once it's compromised in one area, it's going to be compromised in other areas as well. That's what I'm talking about with healthcare. The problem with HIPAA, there's not a criminal on the planet that gives a damn about HIPAA. They don't care. They're going to take everything. You do whatever you want to with HIPAA. All right? We're going to open it up for questions, and I'm going to end it with talking about how you can protect yourself. We're going to talk about that during the questions, too. Has anybody got any questions, comments, concerns? I got a young lady right here. How do you spell Zelle? Z as in Z-E-L-L, as in Libra, E. Z-L-L, I'm sorry, Z-E-L-L-E. All right? Typically, it's already connected to your bank. I bank with Wells Fargo because I believe one criminal deserves another.
Okay. Let's talk.
Actually, I do bank with Wells Fargo, but I got to be honest. I mean, they've done some nefarious stuff, but I got compromised 4 times in 1 year. Walked out of the FBI field office in Oklahoma, card shut down, call up Wells, and they're like, did you just try to buy a cell phone in Nebraska? I was like, no. Then they were like, well, we got to shut you down. I'm like, how am I going to get home? So, yeah, but they've taken really good care of me. I like Wells a lot, but still.
Is this your job?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
You mentioned Venmo and Cash App. What about PayPal?
Venmo is owned by PayPal.
Okay, but you said it's not secure for Venmo?
I said Venmo is more secure than Zelle, all right? And here's why. If I'm sending money, now there's 2 different Zelle systems. There's the Zelle app that you download on your phone. Most people don't use that. Most people use the Zelle that's already connected to your online banking, all right? That's the one that's very unsecure, and here's why. That part of Zelle only sees 50% of the transaction. If I sign on to Wells and send money using Zelle through Wells, what happens is Wells is only able to see the information and data from that side, the sender side. The receiver side, Zelle can't see anything. All right, so they can't see who I'm sending it to. They only see the email address. They don't know how long that account's been open. They don't know if there's already been suspicious funds deposited to that account, how much money is going in and out of the account, anything else. If you're using PayPal or Venmo, that system, PayPal owns it. They see every single aspect of that transaction, sender side, receiver side, all right? And that makes a world of difference because now I can see, if I'm running that environment, I can see how old is this account that's being set up. How much money, how quickly is being deposited into this account? Has there been a history with this account associated with the sender account? This sender, what's the history on the sender? Do they usually send that dollar amount? Do they send money to people that they actually know or to some anonymous source who they've never dealt with before? And that's the difference in security. Okay, so Venmo, Cash App, in that respect, is more secure than Zelle because Zelle only sees 50% of the transaction. And again, that does not mean you can't be defrauded by that. You can, but it's still a more secure environment overall. Okay.
Brett, before you go on to the next question,
Yes.
I want to mention, folks, there are some index cards on your table. So if you're shy and you feel like you don't want to ask yourself, you can put a question on a card, hold up the card, and one of our volunteers will take the card and take it up to Brett. I do have a question right here.
Questions.
Thank you for being here today. A colleague of mine who worked in the computer field told me that if I get an email and I really suspect that it's fraudulent, I should not delete it. I should just let it be. Because if I delete it, I'm giving some information to someone. And so do you just let those emails sit there like forever?
I'm not sure I agree with that. All right? For the criminal to get any information that you deleted it would have to have some sort of tracking information attached to the email. Certainly you can do that, all right? Certainly you can. But really the only person who, it's not common, not at all. Usually these, when you get that type of email, it's what I call spray and pray. You send out millions of emails and you're praying that someone will respond to that. For example, when I was phishing, and I was one of the guys that helped invent phishing as it's known today. When I was phishing, you'd send out 2 billion emails. And the response, the engagement from those emails, you might get 2,000. That would be the number of people who responded. I didn't care about those who didn't respond. I only worry about those who do respond because that's money. I don't care if you click on it or not. I'm looking for the people who respond. So while that can happen, the chances of it actually happening, no, it's not. Who do you use? Google? Gmail?
AOL.
You should never tell a criminal what email service you use. hey, you're fine. You're fine on AOL. All right. Sorry, I had to joke with you. Typically, the only people who get information on deleted emails are the email providers: Gmail, AOL, Hotmail, Yahoo, things like that. Okay. Yes. Next question.
Oh, weird. Oh, hi. What can I do when I receive text messages addressed to someone else that I know who previously stole from me?
You're getting text messages from someone who previously stole from you.
No, I'm getting text messages from outside addressed to her, but she also stole from me in the past.
So, have you filed a police report?
No,
Okay.
I'm not sure what to do.
So first you contact law enforcement. You contact your phone company, whoever the provider is, whether it be T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T. You contact them and tell them that you're receiving this thing as well, what's going on. You can also, on your phone, you can block those text messages. So you can block that number altogether. And I would advise you do that. I would advise that you don't engage. And when I say engage, that's respond in some way. Click on a link, answer back, send something, whatever. I would say never engage with that whatsoever. There are people who say, hey, don't open emails. I'm going to tell you, you're going to open the email. All right? Anybody that says, well, just don't even open the email. That's, I won't say stupid, but it's stupid. We're going to open the emails. I do it. All right? But don't engage with that. The idea from a criminal is to get you to engage with that specific thing, to get you to do something within that email, within that text message, within that snail mail, whatever, within the phone call. Don't engage. Disengage, disconnect from that, and then verify from that point on. Yes, sir.
Brett, we've been transferring funds to grandchildren and children using PayPal, and most recently, Walmart to Walmart.
Okay.
So my question is, what are the safe avenues to use to transfer funds to family members?
It's a good question. I knew the head of security of Western Union at one point, and he makes the comment talking about people who are being scammed. And I don't care if it's romance scam, grandchild scam, whatever that may be. If the scammer gets that victim out of the house, there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop them from sending the money. All right? Now, that doesn't answer your question. What I would say is it goes down to that trust but verify thing. It's not complicated. I'm not sure that you'd have a lot of criminals that would do that. But it's not complicated for me if I know that you're sending money to a family member. It may not be that complicated for me to assume the identity of that family member and try to get you to send money to me instead of them. All right? I would say never send money. So with Walmart, I think you can still do the question answer security thing where you don't have to have identity to pick it up. I would say never do that. I would say a lot.
Wait, you said never what? Never
So
send
there's a
through
security
Walmart?
Sure, there's no. With Western Union, with MoneyGram, and I think with Walmart to Walmart, you can send money where the receiver doesn't have to have identification. And you do it with a security question. You can say, what is my favorite color? They'll ask you that at the counter. You'll say blue, and then they'll hand the money over to you without any ID. That's one of the things you need to stay away from. You need to understand, too, that there's a whole lot of insiders that are at shipping services like FedEx, UPS. They're at phone companies like Verizon, AT&T, things like that. They're also at Western Union, at Walmart, MoneyGram, those counters as well. And they're very good about diverting those payments, those shipments, anything else, to their criminal colleagues. So you need to be aware of that type of environment. I don't really have an answer for you on that. You know, the thing is that you just have to be, it goes down to verifying. You need to make sure that the person that you're sending money to is the person that's picking it up, that no one else really knows you're sending money out there, and that they verify that they picked it up immediately. What I would do, and criminals operate in a gap, all right? If you're sending money out and the person you're sending it to is not picking it up for 2 days, that's a gap that someone else can come and get that money. All right, so you need, when you send it out, you need to make sure, hey, get your ass down there, pick it up. All right, immediately. Not hours from now, but immediately. I'm sending it, it's available in 30 minutes. I expect in 35 minutes, you got it. All right, that gives less time for the criminals to come in, take advantage. Let's read a couple of these, and I'll go back to live questions in just a second, okay? So, question. Would you recommend DuckDuck over Google? DuckDuckGo is a privacy search engine. I like it. But I use Google. All right. I mean, I like it. I like my privacy too, but I like Google. I hope that's the answer that you wanted. I mean, would I recommend it? Honestly, the algorithm for Google is better. It's better. It truly is. What I would say, if you want privacy on searches, there's a whole lot of privacy browsers out there, all right, where it doesn't, the browser is such that it doesn't share any information or data about your machine to that search company, whether it be Google or DuckDuckGo or anything else like that. You can search privacy browsers on Google and get some. All right, let's take a live question, then I'll go back to, yes, ma'am.
Let's keep it for the microphones,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Ken's got one over there.
Ken, where are you, Ken? I need a hand. Ah!
Yeah, I have a question. I think
Let's get this young lady right here next, if you don't mind.
After this one? Take
Wait,
the
yeah.
one with the mic first, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Significant amounts of AARP members use securities such as Vanguard, Morgan Stanley, and such. I think criminals are starting to get into that realm as well, like Roth, IRAs, and such. Tell me something about that and how we can protect ourselves.
Tell you something about that. Okay. There's no redeeming feature to being a criminal. All right? There's none. There's none. I get up here right now and I laugh and I joke, things like that. I'm the son of a bitch that we used to fish out E-Trade accounts. All right? We fished out 200,000 E-Trade accounts. And those 200,000 accounts, we initially were able to go in because E-Trade had minimum security. We initially were able to go in, find some fat cat with portfolio, steal everything they got, cash out, send money to wherever we wanted them to. All right? Worked like a charm for 6 months until E-Trade decided they were going to implement security where you couldn't send any ACHs out whatsoever. So how do you continue to profit from that type of access? And the way you profit from that is you find somebody that obviously has a huge retirement account. All right? Got those blue chip stocks all the way through it. I'm going to set up another E-Trade account under a stolen identity. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a penny stock. I'm going to buy that penny stock with that imposter profile that I've set up on E-Trade. At the same time, that fat cat retirement account, I'm going to sell every single blue chip they've got. I'm going to buy that same penny stock, and I'm going to do a pump and dump. I'm going to destroy the retirement account so that I can make $2,000. And I did that. You want to know about Roth? You want to know about things like that? That's how that works. All right? Can I get access? Yeah, I can get access. All right? I can. There are things that you can do. You can put a lock on the account. You can put multi-factor, credit freeze, password manager, monitor accounts, place alerts. EWS, while they own Zelle itself, they're very, very good about notifying about any change whatsoever on an account. You get a different device log into the account, you get any number of things that happen to that account, you immediately, and I mean immediately, get a text message, something is going on, and then you can take care of it, all right? But absolutely, I told you that story because, like I said, I get up here and I laugh, and we all laugh and have fun, but when I was a criminal, I was a criminal, all right? There was no compuncture, there was no remorse, there was no empathy. It was about stealing. And you guys need to understand that because there are criminals, there are predators out there, and they don't care. That's why you need to complain to law enforcement. That's why you need to understand your environment, practice that situational awareness. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my question is kind of related to that. So you access your bank account, your investment accounts online. Is it more secure to do it on the computer versus the phone? Is it one more vulnerable than the other?
That's a good question. So the question is it more secure to do this online access to bank accounts, retirement accounts, social security accounts, everything else on the phone versus a laptop, desktop, what have you? They're similar, but they're also different environments, all right? And depending on the security of that financial institution, government agency, whatsoever, it may be easier for a criminal to access that by the phone than it is a laptop, or vice versa. So it really depends on the agency itself or the institution itself. Security is very good these days about recognizing different devices which log into accounts. All right, so if I use my cell phone, and I typically do, if I use my cell phone to log into my Wells Fargo account, you know, because one criminal deserves another. If I use my cell phone to log into my Wells account, Wells recognizes that, hey, I'm coming into that environment. It's this device, it's historically this device that comes in. If I use another phone to do that, at that point, it raises a flag at Wells. The fraud score starts to increase, all right? And what does Wells do in response? Wells will typically send me some sort of text message to verify or an email to verify that I'm logging in. You need to make sure you've got that turned on where possible. That goes into this idea that I'm talking about, where you monitor accounts, place alerts on those accounts where you can. Okay? Next question. Yes.
I'm in the middle of a situation right now, and I'm victim of a scam. They've taken thousands of dollars from me. And I don't know if there's such a thing as an ethical hacker that's kind of supposedly helping me. But the gist is that I've sent them, it's all tied up in a wallet in cryptocurrency. And I've had to give him a lot of money so that he can buy more cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And
It's okay.
one of the things that you said was about going to Walmart. That's
Right.
one things that he's keep asking me to do is to go to Walmart and verify my
And he's
my
telling you that he's a
identification.
good guy?
Yeah. Well, supposedly he's helping this lady in Florida that actually is involved with, she got scammed, and then they found my information through my IP address that they used to buy a lot of cryptocurrency and had a wallet under my name.
Okay.
So in order to get the wallet, they needed me to put money in. And then, so like a fool, I put in thousands of dollars.
Hey, look. I said a few minutes ago that every single person in here can be scammed. All right? So do not refer to yourself as a fool. Okay? Now, this is just me and you talking right now. Okay? Never refer to yourself as that, because there's not a single person in this room that can't be taken advantage of. All right? What I need you to do immediately is not send that son of a bitch any more money. All right? He's not an ethical hacker. He's not trying to help you. He's taking everything that you'll give him, and he's going to continue to do that. Okay? That's what I need you to do. I need you to contact your bank. Let them know what's going on, that you're being scammed. I need you to contact law enforcement. Report that as well. Okay? I need you to contact law enforcement, report that as well. Let them know what's going on. All right? File the reports. Any service, if he's used Coinbase, anything else like that, I need you to notify them what's going on. There are people at every one of those institutions that will help you. If they don't, you've got two resources that are very good that you can rely upon. All right, you've got AARP's Fraud Watch. I promise you they'll help you with this. You've also got me, all right, because I've got a boatload of contacts out there. So get up with me as well. I can connect you with the right law enforcement agency to do that. And this is the hard part. And I hate having this conversation. The money that you've sent, you are never going to get back. Okay? Anybody out here that's ever been scammed that might want to talk to me about getting your money back, you're not going to get it back. Okay? It's done. But what you can do is you can stop that right now. All right? You don't respond to this guy anymore at all. If he's contacting you by phone, by email, you block those addresses immediately. If he reaches out to you some other way, you need to know what email service he's responding to. You inform that email provider as well, Gmail, what have you. Okay? But you don't engage. Do not respond to him at all. He's going to start with the begging. Have you disappeared? I'm trying to help you. Blah 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 blah. It'll finally turn into anger. If you don't respond to me, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. This is going to happen, and then finally he'll give up. It may take months, depending on how much money you've sent him. All right, but and I want you to know I'm very sorry that this has happened to you. You must do this. Do not respond to this individual anymore. Notify everyone that you can, file a report, all right? And understand, even if he says you're going to get some of your money back, you're not. And I am very sorry that this has happened to you. Okay? I wish I could help you more than that. Okay? Yes,
Is
sir.
there any information that she can put together from communications that would be helpful for the law enforcement?
Yeah, don't.
people?
So as you're filing, you don't, and the reason that you contact the other websites that you've went through, like Coinbase, the bank, everything else, is because on that side, they can pull a lot of data on that criminal. They can pull the devices, they can pull the IP range, they can pull all the stuff that's going on there, stuff that you don't have access to, all right? So you notify so they can pull that. Then you contact law enforcement, and you start beating that drum, all right? This is one of these crimes. When you're scammed, you got to realize that you just can't call the cops and expect them to take it from there. You got to keep beating that drum. You got to call them every week. What's going on? What's going on? You got to make sure that if they don't think that you're engaged, they're not going to be engaged. All right, but you report to everyone. You save every single, don't delete a thing. All right? You save every single thing that you've got, because if, and here's the thing, you are not his first rodeo. All right? This is not his first day on the job. He's been doing this. So hopefully, if they catch this guy, the data, the records that you've got will help give this guy more time behind bars. Okay? So that's how you do that. And again, I am truly sorry that that happened to you. All right. Next question, please.
Hi, good morning. Can you talk to us a little bit about the dark web and steps that we can take to be more aware of, like prevention or awareness of what we can do to?
Sure. So dark web. The dark web was created by the United States military, U.S. Navy. It's a thing called the Tor browser, the Onion router. And what it does, take your physical machine. Your physical machine has what's called an IP address, Internet Protocol. It's basically the home phone number of that computer. It tells where the computer is, all right? What Tor, the dark web, does, what the Navy developed is it says, hey, we'll take that IP address of that computer and we'll start to wrap it like layers of an onion with other IP addresses so that no one knows where the real person is, who the real person is, anything else like that. And that's called the onion router. That's the dark web. The U.S. Navy developed that so that intelligence operatives could communicate with each other without being identified. It then goes open source. The Navy says, we'll release it into the wild. And they did that so that people behind other countries' firewalls, think Cuba, Iran, North Korea, China, that those people could access the internet, the real internet, and get real information, real news, not fake or propaganda stuff, all right? And they also did it so that whistleblowers, if someone knew that something was going wrong, they could report it without being identified. The mistake is that in that wisdom, they didn't understand or remember that if you have something that allows someone to remain private or anonymous or allows them to launder money effectively, the first adoptees are criminals. So when it goes open source, criminals flock to it. And it is anonymous as long as you properly know how to use it. It's anonymous. It works like a charm. You can actually host websites. That's this dark web. You can host websites on it as well. That's the entire dark web criminal marketplace. Now, the interesting thing is over the years, the definition of the dark web has changed. Instead of just being that specific thing, now the dark web is things like Telegram. It's things like Discord. It's things like the videos on YouTube. You can watch a video on how to commit credit card fraud on YouTube, how to use these hacking tools on YouTube. All day, every day. There are criminal Facebook groups. There are criminal subreddits. It's all over the place. And that is basically the definition these days of the dark web. You've got to think of the internet as three areas. You've got the surface web, the deep web, the dark web. The surface web is every single thing that you can find with a Google or a DuckDuckGo search. All right? That's the surface web. That's only about 4% of the internet. Think about that. Everything that's on Google, about 4%. The other 96% is the deep web. Now, what's the deep web? That's anything that's behind a paywall, so all those Netflix movies. It's anything that doesn't have a URL, like your emails, like your bank statements, All that stuff is the deep web. That is the other 96%. And then inside of the deep web, we have that thing called the dark web, all right, where you have to have the Tor browser to use it. And that, how big is that? Nobody knows. Some people say it's 15% the size of the internet. So it's 3 times bigger than what you can find on Google. All right? Understand that. When I was committing crime, Shadow Crew gets popped August 2004. We ended with 4,000 members. Fast forward to 2017. The largest criminal group on the planet, Alpha Bay, gets shut down by law enforcement, 240,000 members. Fast forward 2 more years to 2019. One website, dark web marketplace, Black Market, gets shut down. 1.15 million members. These days, and it's exponential, these days you've got just single communities that are millions of members large. All of them trafficking drugs, looking for ways to victimize you, your loved ones, your organizations. All right, so that's the dark web. Yes?
I have a simple question. I'm monitoring my accounts, and on my statements, my checking statement, I noticed some unauthorized withdrawals. My question is, why are the withdrawals so small, like $100, $200 only, and not the full amount, like $10,000 or something like that?
I got to tell you, that's a small withdrawal. I may want access to your accounts. All right, there's an answer for that. And I actually had kind of the same question the other day. Depending on who's doing the withdrawal and who they're paying on that withdrawal, typically on credit cards or on money transfers, the line tends to be either $300 or $500. Under that amount, really no security is in place whatsoever, and it will tend to go through. So the reason you see, that's not what I call a small amount. The reason you see that amount going through is because it's not triggering more sophisticated security, okay? What I typically call a small amount is anything under $1, $3 and under, all right? And that is for card testing. If you see, it's a card testing or account testing. If you see those types of transactions on your account, someone is testing the environment. Someone is testing their cards, seeing what they can do, everything else, and it's coming. So you need to do something about it. If you're seeing that on your account, you need, either one of those on your account, you need to notify the financial institution, have them lock everything down. They may need to open up a new account, maybe not, but you can put a multi-factor on there. You can make sure that only your regular device that logs into the account is the only one that's allowed on there. You can do any number of things to protect yourself at that point. Okay, contact the financial institution, have that discussion from there. Let me take a card real quick. Is logging in with facial recognition into your bank accounts on your cell phone actually safer than using a password? Yes, it is, all day, every day. That's a biometric. You've got two different types of biometrics. You've got device biometrics. So when I log into a website, that website captures about 42 different characteristics about this device. It captures how I hold the device. It captures how I walk. It knows my gait. It knows which fingers I type with. It knows 42 unique things that are enough to identify me among millions of different users. It also, depending on the other type of biometrics, it may capture fingerprints, it may capture eye scans, it may capture facial recognition, any number of things. Understand that all of that, even facial recognition, it's just a tool. It's just a tool. Tools can be compromised. To think you can use just one tool and protect yourself throughout is a mistake. You have to use a multi-layered approach to protect yourself, all right? How much more time do we have, Jackie? Okay, that's what I was, we'll go back to some questions here in just a second. I want to make sure that we get to the conclusion, talk about protecting everybody. The conclusion is we are screwed. It's over. No, it's not. Just as cybercrime is not sophisticated to commit, it is not sophisticated to protect yourself. Remember I said most attackers are looking for cash, lowest hanging fruit, easiest access that gives the largest return on investment. How do you protect yourself? You need a toolbox. Criminals have a toolbox. And in their toolbox, they have a variety of tools with which to victimize you. They have the low-level social engineering tools, those spoof phone calls, the text messages, the proxy addresses. They got all that low-level stuff. And then they got the screen going dead on me, Jackie. Then they got the high-level tools like Mimikatz that harvest credentials or side SQL Server attacks. They got all that. Now pick the tool that's best used to victimize you. As a defender, you need a toolbox with a variety of tools as well. The first step of that is to understand your place in the cybercrime spectrum, because you have one. The way that I will victimize you depends on who you are and what you do. If you are payroll or CEO, I will victimize you differently than if you've worked in food service for 20 years. I'll still get you, but I'll do it differently. Food service, I'll look about setting up new accounts, maybe student loans, HELOC, unemployment fraud, something like that. Payroll or CEO, I'm looking at a business email compromise. I'm looking at a phishing attack to get you to send me all the W-2s that your company has. Individuals, that's how you do that. Companies, no different. Is it a company that I can steal the data, resell in the black market, or lock the data down and hold it for ransom? Understand why you're being attacked, design security around that. For individuals, it starts with a credit freeze. 12% of the U.S. population has a credit freeze. That's ridiculous. Freeze the credit of every single person in the house. You have to contact all 3 credit bureaus. Jackie will tell you there's a link on the AARP site. There's a handout that walks you through how to do that. If you don't do anything else today, put a credit freeze in place on everybody, including kids, because kids are the #1 victims. Number 2, a credit freeze only stops new account fraud. That's the only thing it does. It keeps a criminal from pulling a credit report without your permission. All right? Works great for kids. As adults, we have existing accounts. What do? You monitor those accounts. That's bank, credit cards, tax statements, emails, merchant accounts. You monitor those accounts. You place alerts on those accounts where you can. For example, Discover Card has a $0 alert, meaning that if I go on the dark web and buy your credit card for $12, which I can do, I ping the card just to see if it's alive. You get a text message saying, hey, Brett Johnson's trying to get you. And you can have it shut down at that point. So freeze credit, monitor accounts, place alerts. Here's a big one. How many people use the same or similar login and passwords across multiple websites? Come on, let's go. Show of hands. It's like an AA meeting. Hi, I'm Brett Johnson. Yeah, I raised my hand too. So those who didn't raise your hands, how many of you guys are using a password manager? Raise your hand. A few hands. Those who didn't, I'm assuming rotator cuff problems today. 80%. That's the number. 80% of every single person on the planet uses the same or similar login and passwords across the website. The problem with that is this thing called credential stuffing. See, what happens is I can send out a phishing email that looks like it comes from your financial institution. Your level of awareness through the roof, you're going to be like, ha! I know that's a phishing email. I ain't falling for that. That's probably that Brett Johnson. But what happens if I send out a phishing email that looks like it comes from Hulu? Hulu? You're going to be like, does anyone even use Hulu? The only thing they've got's The Handmaid's Tale, and that second season sucked. And I mean it did. It's as bad as the last season of Game of Thrones. Still upset about that. The problem is that it's an automated attack. Little Billy with the Matrix background, he goes to sleep, he plugs it into the computer. While he's asleep, it tries to log into tens of thousands of different websites while he's asleep. He wakes up the next morning, he's got access to your bank, your credit cards, your credit report, your tax statements, your email accounts, and your Hulu account. The answer is a password manager. We as human beings, we don't have the capacity to be random. There's not a human being on the planet that's random. It's been proved in the military. It's been proved throughout time. We cannot be random, all right? We don't know how to generate a secure password. We go to a website. It says, hey, plug in a few syllables, a few letters, maybe some symbols, a few characters, And it starts out weak, weak, weak. We don't know what makes it weak until finally it says strong. We're like, it's strong! Password managers take that out of your hand. It generates a secure password, a random password. It logs in for you. It changes the passwords when you need it to change. Guess what? And you don't have to remember anything. And Google and Apple both have free ones. So you don't have to pay anything either. All right? Those are the three big ones. You can also put in multi-factor. All right? If you have a system that allows MFA, do that. It's just a tool. It can be bypassed, but in conjunction with these other things, it's a very powerful toolbox that you have. Yeah, multi-factor authentication. It is, when you go to log into your bank, merchant, anything else like that, it makes you do something else other than input the password. It may make you put in a fingerprint. It may make you respond to an email. It may send a code to your phone, or you may have to click something on your phone in order to access that website. That's multi-factor authentication. It just makes the attack more complicated for the criminal. It lets them go someplace else. That's an easier target. Okay, and it works like a charm. All right. We talked about scams and hustles and frauds. A criminal gets you to do this by establishing trust and also to react emotionally, not logically or rationally. I want you to not try to think things out. I want a knee-jerk emotional reaction. I want to scare you into sending money to you. I want to make you hopeful that you're going to get your money back. I want to do these things to you. When I've got you on the phone or email or anything else like that, that's what I'm talking about, disengage. Step back, pause, think things out. And hopefully, at that point, you're able to start thinking things through rationally and understand this does not make sense. That doesn't work all the time. So when it doesn't, find you a buddy or find you an enemy. Somebody that you can ask, hey, does this sound right? So you get your worst enemy. And you're like, hey, Bill, does this sound right to you? And what's Bill going to do? Bill's going to be like, you're an idiot. Anybody, that's a scam. And if you don't want to be talked to like that, you've got an extremely powerful tool with AARP's Fraud Watch. You pick up the phone, you call them. They're going to say, hey, no. This is a common scheme. This is how this works. You don't need to do this. You need to disengage from that. So make sure you do that. Never respond to unsolicited requests. I talked about that earlier. You get that text, that email, phone call, whatever. The criminal wants you to respond specifically to that. Do something within that environment. No. Immediately disengage from that environment and then verify through an outside source what's going on. At the end of the day, it's all trust but verify. Trust, it's the best thing Ronald Reagan ever said. Trust but verify. And understand that trust is earned. It's never given. It has to be earned. This idea that we immediately trust things out of the box, there's something wrong with that. Trust is earned. Now, I'm going to be circling around and everything. I'm going to be here for a while. Presentation's over. I want to thank every single person.
We're losing your volume.
It fell on me. I want to thank every single person for taking the time out of your day to come and listen. And I can't really express how much that means to me. I'm very grateful to every single one of you here for doing that. Stay safe out there. If you need anything, you can contact me. You can contact AARP's Fraud Watch. I'll be circling around the audience outside as well.
Are you going to take any more formal questions?
I will. Do you want me to do it up here or
no,
not?
I want you to just hang on for a second. Yes. So here's the deal, folks. Brett is willing to stay for like 15 more minutes or so, but I really need your evaluation form. So I'm going to give you a moment to fill out the evaluations on the table. If you are interested in joining the AARP volunteer team, the bottom half is a volunteer interest form, and we can contact you. If not, you don't need to put your name on your evaluation. It can be anonymous, but if you want to volunteer, fill out the bottom. If you were one of the tables that got the prize drawing tickets, I'm going to give people 2 minutes while Brett answers this lady's question over here. I'm going to give people 2 minutes, then I'm going to announce the winner, okay? So stay for 2 more minutes if you have a ticket, and go ahead, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we have here local banks, and then you have the local airlines that provide free miles, and you get their Visa or their MasterCard.
Yes, ma'am.
When you go to that bank, the actual carrier or server who provides this Visa card, MasterCard, is actually like the bigger banks like Barclay and what is the other one? Bank of America.
Right.
So they're not really here in Hawaii. So when we pay our bills, and I'm one of them, I do the telephone on a landline, sometimes with a cell phone.
Sure.
And on that, they ask for your last 4 digits of the credit card, zip code, birth date, then they go into your social security number. So when I do all of that, I make the payment, they give a confirmation number. Now, should I still be worried about, because I gave all those identifiers, so I could be like, if I did on a cell phone, you're saying that they can collect, and I don't know if they use Zelle or Venmo.
Right. So I have a problem with an institution doing that. All right. I have and here's why that problem.
But we're so isolated. So
right.
How, as state of Hawaii, how can we protect ourselves?
Well, and let me explain why I have an issue with that and my thoughts on that. Okay. So first of all, you're engaging with that institution. You are calling that institution. So you're calling a number that you have verified. All right. So there is the trust but verified aspect of that as well. The behavior of a company or an institution asking that, they ask you your social, they ask all this personal information. What that does is that gets you used to an institution asking those types of questions. So as a criminal, it makes it easier to do my job, which is to victimize you. All right? So the only thing I need to do is establish that base level of trust. You're already used to a verified institution asking those types of questions. To your point, while I disagree with that behavior.
Well, how do we do it? Is we're here.
You don't. You do exactly what you're doing right now. All right? And I'm sorry I can't answer better than that. What I would say, though, is that because you are doing the engagement, you're starting that engagement, you've already verified that number, you know it's that institution. All right? So you're the one that's acting. All right? A scammer is trying to is doing the action to you. And that's the difference between the two. There's not, because of the way they're doing that, until regulations and privacy concerns change,
right,
it's not going to be fixed. All right? So you just have to be aware of the difference between you initiating the action and the action being initiated upon you.
How about mailing it then?
You can mail it. There's a huge issue. No, I don't think it is, because there's a huge issue right now with individuals stealing the mail. I mean, it's nationwide. All right, so that's checks. They're looking for checks. They're looking for cards. They're looking for packages, and it's really a huge issue with all mailing services right now. Okay. Yes. Are we doing the number?
We're doing the number. Hold on.
That one right there. I need that one.
We gotta make it fair.
All right. What do they get?
Oh, the winning person gets a free micro shredder, which we're gonna send to you because I didn't have the space to bring it. You'll get a free micro shredder.
Ooh, I like it. All right. What we got? Let me put my glasses on. When I got to be 46, and I'm no longer 46, I had to get reading glasses. All right. The number is 659-012.
Raise your hand if you want, otherwise we're gonna draw another one.
659012.
Nobody?
Oh, they've already bugged out.
Going once, going twice.
All right.
Okay.
Take another one out of here. All right. The new winner. 659125. 125. Got a winner back here.
Okay, don't leave without giving me your mailing address, and I'll send that to you.
All right.
Okay, so folks, Brett is going to take more questions. On behalf of AARP Hawaii and my state director, Kaylee in the back, and our great volunteer team, I just want to thank you so much for coming. Can we give Brett one more round of applause?
Thank you.
So if you have questions, just feel free to ask them and come closer if you need to.
Can we get this young lady right here? Table in front of me, Jackie.
Do scammers use the mail?
Do scammers use the mail? Absolutely, all day, every day.
So they will send you.
Oh, yeah. Sweepstakes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was used to break the law, you'd see like the sweepstakes things that were sent through snail mail, things like that. Absolutely happens every day. Okay. More questions? Anything else like that?
Right here, right here.
What? Okay.
What password manager do you use and why?
I use, so there's many. There's Dashlane, there's LastPass, there's the Chrome. I'm an Android guy, so I use the Chrome password, is what I use. And it works fine. I don't have to remember any master password like a couple of the other master password managers. It's free, works like a charm. Everything is encrypted. Someone typically asks, can password managers be compromised or breached? Yes, they can. It's happened with Dashlane, it's happened with LastPass, but even though they've been compromised, the passwords themselves have never been compromised. Those are encrypted in 256-bit encryption. Would take computer powers these days 1,000 years to break into that. So they're very safe to use. Thank you, sir. How do you sign up on Chrome? So if you've got your cell phone, okay, on the computer as well, there should be a small key. When you go to input a password in, register an account, at the bottom of the screen or somewhere on the screen, there will be like a little key. You press that key and it'll say use suggested password. You press that and that'll generate the password and it'll save it encrypted for you as well. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Yes, just say, yes, sir. What about paying credit card statements automatically? I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that. Okay. Miss. Come back to Hawaii. Yes! Thank you so much.
Do you recommend LifeLock?
Ah, that is an excellent question, miss. You know, I used to really despise LifeLock, truly. Todd Davis, the CEO at that point in time, if you remember the advertisements, he used to put his social security number on a van, drive downtown Denver, and he'd say, I dare somebody to compromise me. What he didn't tell anybody is when he was doing that, he had not one, not two, not three, but he had 4 fraud analysts that were taking care of all the crime that he was being hit with because he was a marketer and he made a lot of money. So I didn't like him at that point, but Norton took him over and they changed things. They put things in place. I like them these days. Now, do I recommend them? What I recommend is that you take a proactive response to your security. Okay, that's what I recommend. I also like things for free. There are some free services out there. There's Mint. I think Amazon's got one as well, but there's some free services that help protect your identity and notify you of things. Try one of those. If you find that that's not robust enough, if it doesn't work well enough for you, then you can sign on to ID Guard or LifeLock or whatever that is. But I would advise you to pick a service that has not been hit with a lot of class action lawsuits. And you can simply Google that and find that out as well. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Right.
What about when you're Googling something and they seem to know what you're talking about? Happens to me all the time. Very suspicious. Well, it's because that search provider, because of the cookies, places you've went, they capture all that data and they're able to anticipate. They know who you are really better than you do a lot of the time. If you don't like that, you can use a privacy browser. It's one of those things that happens. It's part of the cost currently of being online. It helps them target advertising to you. That's how they make money, things like that. If you don't like it, use a privacy browser. You can find that by a Google search or a DuckDuckGo, something like that. Yes, ma'am.
And usually it's PayPal or one of those things. Are those safe?
Are GoFundMe accounts safe? There are legitimate ones, but there's a lot of scams too. All right? And this goes into this trust but verify. If you're going to give to a charity, give to a legitimate, established charity. All right? That being said, I know there's a lot of people that try to do GoFundMe campaigns. There's a lot of scams. There's a lot of scams. You have to be very careful. Trust, verify as much as you can. If you can't verify, then don't.
What about paying, sending money? I mean, I don't like PayPal and whatever. I usually send a check. But then you said don't
Yeah,
use
so,
mail
so
now.
checks can be stolen. They are being stolen religiously through the mail right now. Again, I don't like the idea of sending money to anyone unless it's using an instrument that you're protected, that you won't ultimately lose your funds. That's credit card, and if not credit card, then that's debit card. All right? So what I would advise is if you're going to send money to someone, use one of those instruments. That way, at least you're protected.
What about, what do you call that? Going to the bank and get a,
Cashier's check?
yeah.
Still, it's one of those things. If it were intercepted or if you send it to someone that's trying to scam you, you have no protection once they cash that out.
But then
Credit
at
card,
least
debit
your,
card.
at least your account would be safe if you use a.
Your account's safe, but you still lose the money.
Yeah.
Okay, so use an instrument where you're protected on the money that you send. Okay?
Thank you.
Other questions? Is that it? Miss. How do you know if your bank is using Zelle? When you sign on to your bank, like I sign on to my Wells account, it's got a thing that says send money up there. And it'll actually have a Zelle advertisement. Send money through Zelle, something like that, and you'll know. Typically, these days, most banks and credit unions have Zelle already implemented. I would not be using that until we have proper protections for people. Okay. Okay. No. And here's the thing. Your kids have been in your bathroom. Yes, they have. All right? That's what I'm saying. Don't use those money transfer systems unless somebody, you know them. All right? I don't care if you like them or not. You can dislike them, but you still know them. Like I got two stepsons. Half the time I dislike them. They're good kids, though. Let's go through these for just a second. Regarding spoofing, if one is unable to block calls, can the caller ID who uses a different phone number, how does one stop constant calls at all hours quickly? So spoof phone calls. T-Mobile's got this, AT&T's got this. I'm pretty sure that Verizon's got, I know Verizon's got this. You can contact Verizon and they've got a spam filter that will automatically start to filter that out. Also, there's legislation in Congress right now that's looking to ban those types of spoofed phone calls. So contact your phone provider, and hopefully this regulation will come through as well in the very near future if we can get Congress working together. That's my political statement for the day. Do you think the FBI will want to help someone in the U.S. if the crime took place outside the U.S.? Gosh, that's a bad question. The jurisdictional problems are horrible because a lot of countries do not cooperate with law enforcement. It goes deeper than that. Here's a good question. First, I'll tell you the numbers. In the United States, we've got 37,000 FBI field agents across 56 field offices throughout the United States. 37,000 agents. How many of those 37,000 agents, and I work with the FBI, how many of those 37,000 agents concentrate or work cybercrime? Anyone want to take a guess? Less than 200. Less than 200. And of that 200, they're handling nation-state attacks, they're handling drug trafficking, they're handling all this kind of stuff. That's why I mentioned to the lady earlier about making sure that you're banging that drum. You've got to compile all those records and be able to hand off to them. That way they're able to act on it, okay? So jurisdictional problems, manpower problems. The sad truth is that most of these individuals will never be arrested. Most cyber criminals will get away with these crimes, all right? And that's why you need to do what you can to protect yourself, okay? How do you pay for your credit card bills? I contact by phone, pay like that, or I've got direct payment through my Wells bank like that. How do you know if the bank you open online is legit? That's a good question. That's a good question. So if If you go to a website that says Brady's Bank, it may not be legit. If you go to a website that says BOA.com, it may be legit. So it's all about verifying where your the account. You know, if it says Bank of the United States.CZ, that extension is a little odd. So you might want to, be aware of the environment. Be aware that anybody can set up a website that looks really good and you're not able to catch it. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am, you need to freeze all three. Now, yes, you can just freeze one because you have to contact all three bureaus, but that'll be the only one that's frozen, which allows me as a criminal to pull credit reports from the other two. All right, so no, you need to freeze all three, okay? Another question from the cards. I have contacted FBI and et cetera, also submitting pages of info to my problem. None have responded. What can I do to get some response? That goes back to banging that drum. Have all the data ready to go, hand off to them. You have to contact all the different websites that criminal's been on, capture all that data. That way they've already got everything pulled. You can't see it. They're not going to hand over the device information to you. They'll hand it over to law enforcement. But you have to be proactive. You have to constantly bang, 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 bang. Okay? But understand as well, criminals offshore someplace, even onshore, most of the time these guys are going to get away. All right? I got email. I'm sorry, I can't read this one. Let's see. Any other questions while I'm reading some of these cards? Yes, ma'am. How safe is Apple Pay? Excellent question. Excellent question. When Apple Pay started out, it was horrible. Any new payment service that starts out, any new one, you are basically a beta tester. That's what you are. All right, that's Samsung Pay, that's Google Pay, that's Apple Pay. Now they're established. They're extremely secure. All right, but any new one that pops out, really you're a beta tester at that point. Anything new, stay away from until the criminals get through with it. And then you can come in and use it. I don't use any wallets, but that's just a personal choice. They're very secure. My wife has the Google wallet, and it's extremely secure. Samsung's got one as well. They're very secure, just personal preference. I don't use that. I'll get to you in just, what we got? Just a second.
Yes, sir. Do you have time to do a brief explanation what motivated you to switch sides?
It's never brief. They got on me yesterday because I spent 30 minutes going into that. Three things got me on that. It's funny that with my story, every single person that's involved with my story is influenced by love. Every single person. My mom, horrible, horrible, abusive person. My mom used to test people's love. Can I do this to you and you'll come back to me? My dad, scared of losing my mom's love, of her leaving. So he allowed this stuff to happen. My sister always thought someone would come and save us, and didn't. Me, never able to show love healthy in a relationship. My three turnarounds, the first is my sister. My sister disowned me, and then comes back into my life after the escape. And I had escaped, I got called, she comes to visit for a 10-minute visitation, drives 7.5 hours, see me for 10 minutes to tell me she loves me. And I didn't see her again for 5.5 years. That's the first turnaround. That's at that moment, not that moment, but 2 years behind the fence, and that moment is what gets me to accept responsibility. To understand that the reason I'm in prison is not because of law enforcement. It's not because I was helping family. I chose to victimize people. All right, that's the first turnaround. But I get out. The problem is that when you get out, you want to do things right. But if you don't have a support group and people willing to help you, the chances of failure, almost 100%. So I got out. I couldn't touch a computer. I was under 3 years probation. Couldn't get a job, anything else. Start breaking the law. My first crime, I was on food stamps. I had a roommate that was taking care of half the rent. I was bumming money from my family. I had a cat, and I had the money to feed my cat and didn't have the money to buy toilet paper. So I went to the dollar store, bought the cat some food, and on the way out, shoplifted toilet paper. And I'm lucky that my wife, she met me at that point. I didn't meet her, she met me. My wife is the second turnaround. I recidivated. I got a job finally pushing a lawnmower, and the job ended because it got cold, grass doesn't grow. And I go back to crime. Remember, I'm the guy that can't show love in a healthy way. So I was like, I got to do something to prove to her that I'm worth it. So I got it in my head, at least I can bring food in the house. So I start getting credit cards, ordering food, get caught, go back to prison. And at that point, that turnaround was my wife. I realized that she didn't need me for the things that I could give her. She just wanted me for me that entire time. And I had never had that in my entire life. I had it with my sister. That's the second turnaround. And then the third turnaround, once I get out of that, I reached out to the FBI. I sent this FBI super cop named Keith Malarski. I sent him a message on LinkedIn. I was like, hey, respect everything you did. Think you did a great job with all the arrests and all that. By the way, I'd like to be legal. The guy responded within 2 hours, took me in under his wing, gave me references, advice, does that to this day. Today, I'm an ambassador for AARP. I teach at Quantico. I work with law enforcement. I'm the first chief criminal officer on the planet. I truly lead a very blessed life that I'm going to tell you guys I do not deserve. But I'm very grateful to have. And I take it seriously about protecting people and businesses from the type of person that I used to be. Okay? All right. Hey, I'm going to come off the stage, but I really appreciate you guys. You have no idea how much I appreciate you guys taking the time of your day to give me the opportunity to come up here and speak. Thank you.
Yes. No, talk to this lady right here.